Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line, first of all, today, we've got Beastie. Hello, Beastie, old boy.
Hello, Lord H. How's it hanging?
Oh, no, into the left, old boy. Yeah, we've got Eddie on the line as well. Hello there, Mr. Eduardo.
Good evening, your lordship. How are we doing today?
Very well, absolutely very well. Thank you ever so much for asking, old boy. And, chaps, we've got a special guest. Are we allowed to call him a special guest, or is he just a guest?
No, it's just very special, isn't it?
For contractual reasons, he's just special.
He is.
We've got Mr. Neil Hargreaves. Hello there, Neil, old boy.
You alright? Good evening, Lord H. You alright, mate?
Absolutely fantastic, old boy. Thank you. How are you?
I'm alright. This is like past my bedtime. I didn't know you did these things at this time of night.
It's every time of day on a podcast, old boy. Nobody knows.
Can we make that like his snooker name? Neil Special Hargreaves.
Don't start, Beastie. I'll be listening to you on these podcasts. I know what you like.
I'm the butt of the jokes usually, but now you're here. And as rule one of all podcast law says, Neil Special Hargreaves takes center role for all butts of jokes.
Pick on a new boy. That's the rule, isn't it?
Exactly.
Fair enough.
So, just in case, by any strange thing of the imagination, nobody knows who you are, do you mind just giving us a little bit of rundown on yourself?
Yeah. You might or might not know out there that I own and run owlstalk.co.uk, which is a very individual forum, let's say, full of Sheffield Wednesday fans from all over the world. So that's kind of the main thing that I get up to. But I also do little things around the club as well on match day, such as like the match day crowd pictures and this new fan cam thing, which is like a half an hour show, basically just showing what goes off on a match day, talking to fans and having a little nosy around the club, see what's going off.
Absolutely. I think it's fair to say then, Neil, that probably 90% of people's pictures on Twitter, the Wednesday players up there, are probably your pictures. Yeah,
probably. If they're like from a match day, yeah, but that's the whole point. It was designed to do that, just something free for Sheffield Wednesday fans to remember the match by,
Absolutely.
Isn't it also true that 90% of the pictures and the interviews that you've done have actually been with Beastie as well?
You can't avoid him. He sits in all the media hall places. I've had a discussion with him about this on Fancam, but he pops up everywhere. Can't get rid of him.
I can't help it, right? The camera loves me. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like. It's both a gift and a curse.
Hang on. I know Neil. Very welcome that Neil's here. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. We're reaching out to the community.
Go on, Eddie. Speak together. Go on.
Where is the fourth musketeer? Where is D'Artagnan in this? Where is Fudge?
Fudge Tanyan.
Fudge Tanyan, love it. I believe Mr. Fudge Tanyan is doing his swanning again.
Oh, it's swanning again. Did I even have to ask?
He's off swanning.
He's taking his sword of fudge. Across English Channel to France.
Steady on, Beastie Boy. It's a family show. So, chaps, as I say, let's crack over some football, and let's start off with Leicester and belting results, chaps. All in all, Beastie, I assume you was there, old boy, tweeting away as you were, and you did seem pretty impressed.
Oh, how can you not be impressed? I think if you replay last week's podcast, you'll hear me saying how I expected us to win, and Eddie downbeating it all and telling everybody that, oh no, we've got no chance against this top of the table side. And to be fair, I could understand why he felt like that, but I'm always optimistic, and I thought if we set about them and tried to take the game to them, we could get something from it, and that's what we did. And kudos to every single player that were on that pitch. Kudos to Dave Jones for changing the lineup. For setting them out how they did. But most of all, and I know it's my thing, I bang on about it all the time, the Wednesday fans, they were absolutely fantastic. The Beastie Fur were up from the start, and it didn't go down until after that final whistle. It was just wonderful.
I couldn't agree more, Beastie. Exactly what we needed after having such a good run. And then we knew it had to come to an end, and that's fine. It was always going to happen. The way that it happened against Forest, I think, it was a bit of a damp squib. We didn't give a great account of ourselves. And then Tuesday night at Watford, we absolutely dominated that. We could easily have come away from Watford with 3 points. if we'd have got the rub of the green and our just desserts in the first half. And it didn't happen for whatever reason. Now, I'm sure we might talk about that a little bit later. But to come back with that sort of performance and get the 3 points in the manner that we did was absolutely brilliant. And the perfect answer to what looked like it might become a bit of a vicious circle in terms of losing games again back to back and losing that confidence. Well, you know what? Any confidence that we lost in those last 2 games, that's right back there, because we beat a Leicester team that, granted, had not been in the form that they had been, but they were still a very good team. And it wasn't as if they were there for the taking. It wasn't even as if they didn't turn up on the day like Hull did. Hull were a good team who just didn't show up against us. Leicester showed up and gave it their best, and we managed to keep them out. We kept them quiet, we shut down their most important players, and we beat them down the other end.
It's important that people remember that Leicester did turn up. And I've been reading a few things from Leicester fans, and they're whinging about how poorly they played. Well, I don't think they did play poorly. I thought they played pretty well. They did pass the ball about well, but we were equal to anything that they had. Our midfield were absolutely fantastic, all the way across the pitch. The 2 wide boys, but in the middle, where it made a big difference for me, alongside Prutton, because Giles Coke were injured. He put Danny Pugh and he put Kizzalee. And that 5 across the middle were absolutely solid. You know what you're going to get from them 2 players every time, don't you, from Kizzalee and Danny Pugh? They never stopped working, and they didn't in this either. And
it's interesting that we had to change the formation, if not the system. We had to change the players in there. But we knew that by bringing those 2 in, we were going to get a real proper shift, and especially playing, 4-3-3, 4-5-1, call it what you will. That packed midfield, those 2 stepped in absolutely brilliantly. I don't think we missed Giles Coke at all. As much as he's been fantastic, and that's not because Giles Coke hasn't been doing the job. That's because Danny Pugh and Kizzalee give an absolute 100% performance every time.
Yeah, and on the few occasions when they did get through, Mr. Dependable, if you like, now at the back, Chris Kirkland, were equal to anything that they threw at him. And they did put in some good shots on bang on target. But now, I mean, I know we've banged on about it on here before, about people, especially when we weren't doing so well, they were banging on about Bywater coming in because he does this, that and the other. Forget it now. Forget it, right? You were worst at lot, you. It was me that was singing Kirkland.
Of course it was, Beastie.
But I don't know. I don't know if the highlights are up yet on the official site. But if they are, watch Kirkland. He is fantastic, absolutely magnificent. On those few occasions they did get through, he was Mr. Dependable, and it was great to see.
Absolutely, and of course, chaps, we can't avoid it. We've seen this fantastic defensive display again, and of course, who's returning? Follow the reader, Neil. By the way, Neil, please don't worry about these 2 nattering on. If you've got anything to shout in and shut them up.
I'm struggling.
It's a fast-paced Wednesday week,
I think it's admirable that Neil has come on tonight after being sacked by Reading about tea time, for him to show up here and want to talk about football, because I'd want to be anywhere else. So it's a triumph for the human spirit. Well done, Neil.
Cheers, Eddie.
So, as I was saying, Neil, I mean, do you think that's sort of obviously that's our first back four? Now we've had not the best start to the season with the defence there, but I mean, it's absolutely solid now, isn't it?
This Leicester match, absolutely massive for so many different reasons. I think before the game, there were possibly more fans on the forums worried about this game than they were about going to Watford, for example, and not quite sure, that we'd get a result, but also not quite sure about the team that Dave Jones was going to put out. But lo and behold, Reader Johnson's name pops up on the starting 11. It's like, where's he come from? Because there were rumours going around that he might not see, the rest another game this season.
Absolutely.
With recurring injuries. So, what a massive game. What a massive result that is.
Even before the kick-off, in the stand, everybody were talking about that.
Yeah.
There were a right buzz going around the Wednesday fans. And it were like school playground, readers started, and everybody was shocked. It were like, because you know what football clubs are like. If you've got a player with an injury, they always play it down, and you, by the time they've finished, you think they're on the deathbed.
Yeah.
You know, oh no, he'll never return. He might never play football again. And you think, well, he's been good for us.
That's because we put up with so many years of history.
Yeah. Well, as soon as he came back, that was it. It gave everybody a lift. And it's like, I mean, Mark Hazel, who was just absolutely full of Wednesday stats on Twitter, he posted up on Twitter the other day that we've won 64% of the games that Reader has played in this season. And we've only won 25% without him. That's incredible. He's become like a talisman, and he's so important for the feel-good factor at Wednesday, isn't he?
He leads from the front, doesn't he? And it's one of the things about Reader. You're absolutely right to call him a talisman, because when he's on the pitch, the fans respond to it for a start. And, you know, I don't think that was the only reason for the backing that we got on Saturday, but the fans respond to Reader Johnson being there because of the way that he plays football. But also, he does two very important things. Just by being on the pitch, he actually locks down that left-back spot and he liberates another player, whether it be a Danny Pugh, for instance, or an Elan, to go and do a different job up the pitch. And that's just about having the best quality players that you can possibly have, in that 11 at the start of the game. And that's fantastic. But also, every time that he is named on a team sheet, the other team is looking at that and going, bloody hell, we better get a man on him at set pieces. We better make sure he's not getting on the overlap. We better make sure that we're getting into him early doors. And that just creates space all over the pitch.
Well, you'll see him around the club, won't you, Neil? And it'll be like that. Well, I hope is how we all imagine him to be. Is he like that around the club?
I can't tell you what a nice guy Reader Johnson is. He's honestly, he's one of the most. You know, like when you talk about Jose Semedo and people like that, Reader Johnson's right up there with him. Just genuine, sincere, and you can't stop him smiling. We did the photos for the new season ticket campaign. We got the players in, and Reader Johnson was amongst them. I had to tell him off because he just would not stop smiling.
That whole shoot was like really moody, wasn't it? And it was like a light and shade, there were right contrast there and all that. He would just ruined it, wouldn't he? Hey, come on, get a season ticket. Hey!
He's either smiling or laughing. You just can't stop him. He's a genuinely really nice guy, and what a massive player. And he was one of these that were touted by fans and others as being one of these players that might not necessarily last the season out with Sheffield Wednesday. It might be one of these that Johns were going to replace. But what a massive player he is for us this season now.
I think Dave Jones has actually made that sort of comment, how important he is to us now, hasn't he? Especially his goal scoring. And I mean, I think he's second in goal scoring list. bear in mind, he hardly ever plays, and he's a defender.
Oh, his ratio is about 1 in 1.
So, on Pop, I was saying earlier there about Mr. Wickham. I mean, obviously, he is on loan with us at the moment, and it does seem that maybe Dave Jones pushed him a little bit too early when he's playing a full game straight away. Do we think that's due to contractual reasons? Is he forced to play if he's fit, or I don't know? What do you think, chaps?
Do we think he was fit, and available for selection on Saturday? Okay, he didn't start the game. Now there was some rumours that maybe he wasn't fully fit, he'd taken a knock, etc., and so he couldn't start the game. But to be honest, he looked fresh enough when he came on. I think this idea that contractually he has to play, I don't think there's anything in that. I think it was the right decision to make tactically. And you know what, we just talked about Reader getting 60 minutes and then having run his race. Well, what a fantastic way to change things up by taking a player off that we needed to, dropping Elan back, and bringing Wickham in for an instant impact. Well, within 10 minutes, there you go, we've won the game.
But let's be fair here, Eddie. You don't need to have something written down to make sure your player gets a game. If Dave Jones goes around these clubs and he's schmoozing the likes of Martin O'Neill and all the other managers wanting their young players to come down here.
Smooth, Carl Dave.
I bet he can. So he's got up there and he's schmoozed to his heart's content, and Martin O'Neill's been loving it. Oh, well, come on, Dave, give me some more. And he doesn't need to put in writing, look, I want my player to play whenever he's available. All he has to do to him is say, look, if you don't play him, right, then you're not getting any more players off us. And Dave Jones is going to go along with that, isn't he? So, it doesn't have to be in writing. There's ways of making sure that your player gets a game, I think.
Oh, of course, even a gentleman's agreement. At the end of the day, we're not looking to loan players who are who can't improve our team, we can't improve our squad. At the end of the day, Connor Wickham is a player that is of a quality that if he's fit and available for selection, of course we want to play him.
Do you think that we're a bit more cynical about loan players now after possibly the Bothroyd gate or whatever it was when Jay Bothroyd was here? Do you think it's turned Sheffield Wednesday fans' eye when we get a new player in as to regarding whether they get starts or whether this conspiracy theory about it's in the contracts he's got to play, etc.
You know as well as I do that as soon as we get a loan player in, if it disrupts a run that we've been on. Everybody whinges about, well, why change a winning formula? But like Eddie says, if you've got a player of the quality of Connor Wickham, he has to be an improvement on anything that we've got. However much we love the players that we've got, however much affection we feel for them, Connor Wickham is better than anything that we've got. I mean, I love Leroy Lita. I know he's another loan player. I love him, right? But Connor Wickham is a better player. And he's going to be a better player. He's got loads more potential. And I'll tell you what sums it up. In the first half of that game on Saturday, a ball came over for Leroy Lita, and he was unmarked. It dropped right at his feet inside the box, and he should have just leathered it. Instead, he took a touch, and it enabled the defender to come out and clear it, and they were away. Again, this isn't having a go at Leroy. It's more emphasising the talents that Connor Wickham has, because when the same thing happened to him, the ball came up off Antonio's head, landed at his feet. He didn't think twice about it. There was only one thing on his mind, and that was to leather it and bust the back of the net, and that's what he did. Right? No thinking about it. He didn't need a touch. He just had the confidence and arrogance, I suppose, of youth that he had the tools to deal with that ball, and that's what he did. He also seems to have a little bit of humility, and maybe that's what Bothroyd was lacking. I mean, I don't think humility is a word that you would use in any sentence with Jay Bothroyd, is it?
These are two players who are at opposite ends of their career, and to be honest, you look at them and say probably in terms of the quality that they've shown over their career, it's kind of much of a muchness, isn't it? They've both been there, kind of right on the fringes of breaking into that elite group, etc. And Connor Wickham's not done it yet. And Jay Bothroyd never really did it, but both of them came to Wednesday with big reputations, and they needed to justify that. Well, Jay Bothroyd, as much as and to be honest, I think he showed a lot of quality while he was here, but I think probably his attitude let him down more than anything else. Connor Wickham's not showing that. I think if Connor Wickham's lacking anything, he's maybe just lacking that belief, and it's the same reason why he's not getting a start at Sunderland, why he's not ready for the Premier League yet, because I think he doesn't know yet how to transfer the talent that he's got, and he's a very, very raw talent. Transferring that into to delivering week in, week out. He reminds me very much of a young David Hurst. Kind of David Hurst in the pinstripe shirt. We're talking 1988 David Hurst. Yeah, before he really turned into the most exciting striker that we've ever seen. Well, Connor Wickham could be that kind of player. He just needs that spark. He needs that season where things start going right for him.
Right, chaps, I'm Wickham'd out. We'll crack on a little bit, shall we? So, looking at the game as a whole, I don't know if you chaps have seen that Mr. Gardner has been put in the championship side of the week yet again. He seems to be cracking on. He does seem to go unnoticed sometimes, but he's doing a belting job back there. And of course, Mr. Pearson. Oh, isn't it nice to see him back at Hillsborough, chaps? Starting to look more and more like Dracula every single day. But it must be rather strange for obviously a hero Hillsborough to come back as a manager. What do you think? It must be really weird, that, boys.
Right. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care about former players coming back to Hillsborough too much, right? Especially in managers, right? It just does me head in, right? Nigel Pearson was great while he was with us. He's no longer with us. I don't give a monkeys about him. And he said more often than not, impressed. He don't give a monkeys about us either. He's one of the few that when the Wednesday fans chant or shout, give us a wave, he sticks his hands in his pockets and gets all grumpy. He's the most miserable, mithering sod that there is around. Yeah, Pearson, I don't give a monkeys. In fact, any of you lot ever suggest that he should come to Hillsborough to be our manager, you best get your plums out because I'm going to get you a taser in.
So
Right.
if Mr. Pearson came over to you in your media hall spot there, Beastie, and asked for some
Yes.
fruit from your fruit bag, would you refuse?
That's different. As you know, I'm very generous with the fruit from my fruit bag.
I've never had it. Why have I not seen this fruit bag?
He's always dropped it.
Because I'm always dropping it.
Whenever you come close near with the camera, he's like, "Ooh, my fruit bag."
In fact, straight after Conor Wickham hit that ball on Saturday, there were fruit everywhere. No, I don't care. I don't care about Pearson. No, I'm not interested in him.
If we talk about past players and past managers and stuff like that, Beastie, here's one for you. On Saturday against Leicester, there's a bit of controversy about how much the Wednesday fans clapped Ben Marshall and how many times. What,
Right.
Did you see anything?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, right. That's different. All right, making the rules up as I go along here. Yeah. But that's different. Everybody, he came over to take a corner, and he's right in front of us. Now, you imagine this as a player, right? All the Wednesday fans are chanting, Ben Marshall is a Wednesdayite. And it was really loud. How the hell are you supposed to respond when you look up and you see thousands and thousands of Wednesday fans all chanting your name, all applauding, arms out? It's just incredible. As he put the ball down, he looked up and he did one of them secret little claps in front of his body, so like no Leicester fan could see him. I like that. Right?
And you can absolutely understand where he's coming from with that, because we go on about players and there's no loyalty in the game and blah blah blah. They're only in it for the money and everything. But you know what? When you're a kid growing up, you dream about playing for the club that you support, and that's absolutely fantastic. But you also dream just about playing in front of a crowd and hearing that adulation, etc. Yeah. Well, Ben Marshall's a young player, and as much as he's a valued part of the squad there at Leicester, and most of the Leicester fans that I've talked to rate him and think that he should be in the team, and that's fine. He's doing a job for him and great. But for us, for that half a season that he was with us, he was talismanic, wasn't he? He was the focal point of everything that we did, and so that's why. When he must hear those chants, and that must be the best moment of his career to actually have that adulation from fans, even if they're not from the club that he's currently playing for. Why wouldn't you enjoy that? Because he probably knows that in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, he's going to be pulling on a different shirt. Part of me thinks, it wouldn't be great if it was a Wednesday shirt, but he's a professional footballer. He's probably going to be a journeyman. He's probably going to be off doing something else. So enjoy it while it lasts. He must have been buzzing off that.
I think there's a few grumpy ones on the forum. I don't really necessarily agree with them, but saying that it was too much, did it too many times and clapped him too many times, and it all turned a bit sickly.
You know what you want to do is ban them. Just ban them.
Grumpy people on internet. If you banned them all, there'd be no internet, would there? No, I thought it was nice. I chanted it as well. I enjoyed it. He obviously got a kick out of it. I don't see what's wrong with that. Now, Nigel Pearson, that's a different thing.
The funny thing is, though, that we've had all these great players, and I can't think of too many teams that have had so many players that have then become managers. How come none of our great players have actually become decent managers? How come they've all ended up being a bit rubbish?
How come every time one of them ain't got a job, all our fans let's have him here.
Right, let's have this out once and for all, Beastie. Come on. We've got to start something here that stops Sheffield Wednesday fans chucking the names of the old Wednesday legends into the hat every time the manager position comes up.
Right, Neil. What I want you to do is, I want you to start an advertising campaign through the club, right, where you have a poster, right?
I'm sure the club will go for this.
Right, I want you to have a photograph of some plums, right? And I want a taser at the side of it. Right, and I want it to suggest that any Wednesday fan that suggests a former player should become a Wednesday manager, I think their plums want tasering. It's as simple as that, right? You're the man with the ideas for advertising and everything. I've given you the material, the raw material, right? Now run with it.
I'm not too sure we can splatter pictures of plums up round the cockpit. It's time to put it to bed now. Next time, I hope Dave Jones stops for a long, long time, me. But if and when he does go, no to any Sheffield Wednesday ex-players, managers, etc. coming back.
Exception,
Absolutely.
Drissa Diallo.
Well, I could make an
It's
exception.
time, lads. It's time. That's all I'm saying.
I could make an exception for John Besweatherick as well. Imagine how many mullets we'd sell in that shop. Neil, you need one.
We've still got some left from Reggie Blinker. We need to redesign him a little bit.
Get the hair straighteners on them.
So then, chaps, I think that just about puts the Leicester game to bed. All in all, I mean, were you shocked by the result, chaps? I mean, well earned. Just happy to have the 3 points behind us.
To be fair, the actual result must have been a slight shock to pretty much every Wednesday fan, other than me, obviously. But no, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what Leicester fans say about their side, and I don't care what the doommongers say. This was a hard-fought, really hard-battled, ground-out, deserved win for Sheffield Wednesday. We deserved every single one of those 3 points. All 11 players on the pitch put a shift in, and they earned those 3 points, and so did the Wednesday fans.
You know, I hate using these kind of management speak cliches and all this. I work in the corporate world, and you know, talk about people executing. We had a plan and we executed. You know, that's exactly what we did. Is that we went out there with a job and we did it to the best of our abilities. You know what? And you're absolutely right, Beastie, to single out. We took 3,200 to Leicester.
That's incredible.
That's just players. No wonder we won. 3,200 fans to Leicester. Highest championship attendance of the day, again, for a Wednesday away game. They never stopped singing. The Leicester fans didn't know what hit them. It was just like, you know, Derby first game of the season. We took over again. That cannot fail to give those players a lift. And, you know, it's not lip service when they're talking about how great the Wednesday fans are. That is something that really is a difference maker. And so, you know, if you've got a chance to go to an away game between now and the end of the season, then swell those numbers, get up there, because not only does it really, really help the team, but it is the best day out you will have. It is brilliant.
I'll tell you what I particularly like just before we finish this off. Everybody knows Leicester, the big lad that they've got in their fans, the really, really big lad, bald head, and he stands at the back of their fans, just to the left of the away fans, and he bangs a drum. A couple of years ago, he was doing it with his shoes, but he's gone out and bought himself a drumstick.
He's got all professional.
Yeah, well, or a shoe on a stick. It was something on a stick. And they were banging away, and they were trying to get the Leicester fans going. But the more he banged, all the Wednesday fans did was just latch onto it and use it to get us going. And he were banging this beat out, and all the Wednesday fans just started singing, "Dave Jones, Barmy Army," and it was just fantastic because the Leicester fans, you couldn't hear them. All you could hear were the Wednesday fans singing, "Dave Jones, Barmy Army," boom, 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 Dave Jones, Barmy. So it was really good of him to help us out.
A footballing family. So then, chaps, I'd say that puts the Leicester game to bed. And of course, we've had an interesting one of the last few games. We were worried about these 5 games coming up. Of course, the Palace game, Forest, Watford, Leicester, and of course, the next one is Cardiff. And yeah, I remember you saying that you'd be happy with 5 points from the next 5 games. We're at 6 so far, and we've still one to go. Pleased?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, to be in this position with a game still to go, and I don't think that Cardiff game is anything other than winnable. You know, we could go out with a real flourish on this one. So even if, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we give it a real good shot against Cardiff, but they're there on the day and we end up losing, 6 points off those 5 games is a more than acceptable return. And more importantly, we've had 2 really good wins in that, and that will keep that confidence high going into that final run of games of the season, where not only have we got 8 games that that we've got to turn any loss of form around, but we've got 4 of those games, 5 of those games against teams that are right down there with us, and I can't see that Wednesday team, with the amount of confidence that we've got and with the amount of quality that we've shown, especially the last 2 games, even though one of them was a defeat, I can't see how we can fail to kick on from here. So, absolutely chuffed to bits that this has turned out, at the very least, an acceptable return of points.
If we can approach this game in the same frame of mind that we approached the Watford game, where they played with flair and purpose and without fear, really, and the same as we did in the Leicester game, then there's no reason why we shouldn't get something from this. And Cardiff will be looking at results recently, and they'll be worried themselves. I think they've got a couple of games without a win now, and they're starting to wobble. They're on their usual Cardiff end of season wobble, aren't they?
Well, they were, what was it, 12 points clear at one point, weren't they?
Yeah.
And okay, granted they got games in hand, but it's right down into it. It's down. It was down to 3 points, and I don't know. I've not had the telly on. I don't know how Hull are getting on tonight, but
it's 3 points. It's 3 points as it stands at the moment. But as you say, they've got games in hand. But as we all know, at this stage of the season, I'd rather have points on the board than games in hand.
Yeah.
Any day of the week. So I think when do Cardiff play Leicester? They've got Leicester this week, haven't they? Tomorrow night, in fact.
Oof, that's going to be a tussle, isn't
it? So actually, Leicester could do us a favour now. They could go there and soften them up a bit, and then we'll pounce on them on Saturday.
Speaking of which, we've been sat with a nice week break, haven't we, coming into Cardiff? The majority, not the majority, but certainly some of our rivals are in action again, aren't they? In the next 24 hours or so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, looking back at Cardiff's results, last couple of games, we drew with Derby on the last match, lost against Middlesbrough, who themselves haven't been on the most fantastic run. They do the beginning of the year flit as well. Did win against Wolves, but who hasn't? They lost against Brighton back in February as well. So they're known for doing the drop boys. So, I mean, let's face it. I mean, they've had a belting bit on the season there, but I think we can have a bit of optimism going to this one.
Well, I'd like. Again, it's another one of these things that we go on about a lot. I'd like the Wednesday fans to make the difference at this game. Am I right in thinking this is a special rate game, Neil? Cheap tickets for kids or something for this game?
Is it kids for £1 on Cardiff match?
I think it is, isn't it? Or bring a friend. Yeah. For a tenner or something like that. So
there's this one, and then I think Blackburn Rovers in April.
Oh, there was that other offer on as well, wasn't there, about some tickets. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason that we don't advertise on the Wednesday week, boys.
Yeah, well, when you're relying on my memory, you did wrong, don't you?
No, I guarantee next week we'll be on podcast and Beastie will be like, I told you it was 2 for a £5.
Well, yeah. He says, put the 10,000 offer him £1, that's it.
The point is, it's going to be a big crowd. It's going to be a big home crowd. And if we could take anything from that Leicester game, if we could just harness that vibe from the Wednesday fans and take that into a home game, then Cardiff go on.
How'd you recreate the kind of atmosphere that we saw, at Leicester away? And there's videos of it, with that good. There's videos doing the rounds, isn't there? On YouTube and what have you. Yeah. The Leicester support. How do you get that going at Hillsborough when you've got the South Stand who are asleep, or Mardy, etc. I don't know, a bit grumpy. They're known as like that's the last place you go before you're off to heaven, isn't it? Really, in the South Stand. The North Stand. The North Stand.
When you get there next week trying to interview with your boy, you need stuff.
What am I doing here? But the North Stand, as you look at the North Stand, the left-hand side, that's where the atmosphere is coming from this season. The right-hand side is, similar to the South Stand. There's no atmosphere. How do you get to replicate Leicester away when you've only got essentially 2 small pockets of the ground that are interested in joining in?
We've had that problem, haven't we? Since the old kind of traditional idea of the cop being where all the singers were, etc. When most of the real hardcore Wednesday fans transferred to that, West Stand end of the North, ostensibly to make a bit more noise, etc., and get into it with the away fans, etc. It's I'm not saying it's ruined the atmosphere, but it's changed the dynamic of it. Is that I sit in that quiet end of the north stand, so you don't hear an awful lot of chanting from roundabouts where I'm sitting. So what you do hear, you hear the cops starting chants, and you hear top end of the north stand starting chants, and you hear them actually joining in with each other's chants. But because of the speed of sound, it's always a little bit delayed.
Yeah, that's true.
It's basically a bit of a state. It's a bit of a mess doing that. So basically, you aren't going to have unless you get one of them huge crowds where everyone's really buzzing, like we did for Wickham at last game of the season, or derby matches or whatever.
Carlisle.
Or Carlisle, yeah. You end up with effectively two completely separate atmospheres. You've got the lads down at the west end of the north stand who are basically effectively 90% of the chants are just riling up the away fans, and that's fine. That's exactly what we want, because there's nothing worse than the away fans just having a free rein to chant what they want without getting anything back. And you've got the top doing their bit, but it kind of ebbs and flows and it comes and goes. You don't know really. There's no natural leader there, apart from when it's absolutely silent, at which point Tango just goes, I'm going to have a bash, as per usual. I'll just start a chant or two.
I'll tell you what it needs. It needs everybody to get behind that Raider Johnson chant, that Raider and Jermaine Johnson.
Absolutely.
Good call, Good call.
That, if you think of recent years, the thing that's united everybody is the bouncing song.
Yeah.
Right? When that's going, when that first started, everybody got right behind it, and it was just fantastic, wasn't it? Well, now, the Raider Johnson, Jermaine Johnson chant with the little dance is just fantastic. And if we can get that going in a home game with everybody joining in, it will look fantastic. It'll make that Man City turning away pitch thing. Yeah, it will make that look second rate, because I love this Raider Johnson chant.
It's amazing, isn't it? It seems to come out of nowhere, and it's all over the websites, all over Twitter, it's all over Facebook. And I think the away fans are saying, wait till the home fans get a load of this. We need a couple of things. We need the team to come out absolutely on fire, and a couple of stinging tackles and get the crowd going. Because there's nothing worse than, like when you look at like Forest, for example, when we played them, and first 5-10 minutes they sank us, didn't they? With like the pace and just like straight in his face. We need to do it to Cardiff and Barnsley and what have you. But we also need everybody to just have an open mind and join in with these kind of things. But this Jermaine and Reader dance and chant that's come on, that could be big. In fact, it will be, won't it?
Neil, get your video camera out and get one of them dance mats, right? And say, like Time Warp. It's just that to the left.
So we need an instructional video. Is that what you're saying?
That's what it needs. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll do my best.
So then, chaps, looking at Cardiff as a team, they're one of those teams that, although they've got clearly very, very good players in there, there's no sort of outstanding goal scorer. The goals are coming from everywhere in the team, much like the Wednesdays. But it's difficult to really pick out superstars of the club. Of course, you've got Helga, put my teeth back in, chaps, Helgason there as well. And, of course, Mr. Bellamy can't be overlooked very easily. The reason he's gone back there is to help out his own club. Looking at the actual threats in there, who's it you're fearing at the moment, Jeff?
For me, it's actually the midfield that's the key to why Cardiff are so good. Like you say, they've got Helgason up front, etc. But he's not, for a team that are top of the league, you expect someone to be having 20 goals, etc.
Yeah, there's no big striker.
He's not even in double figures, I don't think, either. But then you've got Bellamy as well, etc. and blah blah. But you know what? The two absolute key players for me are Gunnarsson and Whittingham, because they absolutely run the show. And I never really rated Peter Whittingham as much. I thought he'd be a bit part player in a decent Championship team, but he really is a proper player, and I could see him fitting in the Premier League. I always think, I say this all the time, we've got to keep key players quiet, etc. But I think probably more than any, if we keep Peter Whittingham quiet for Cardiff, I think we're going to be winning.
Having seen them down at their place, they're very similar to Leicester in that they have got so much quality in every single department on that pitch. Let's make no mistake about this. This is going to be a really tough game for us. And keeping any of them players that you mentioned quiet will be a task in itself. But and as much as it pains me to say it, I was hoping when I went down to Cardiff, they're going to see Bellamy been nothing that I thought, oh, I'd turn up and it'd just be like, going through the motions there because it's his boyhood club and he's just there to pick a wage up. But he isn't. He's just head and shoulders above anything else. He is absolute quality, and he ran rings around us that day. Don't get me wrong, we did well to contain him, and I'm not taking anything away from our performance, but he is something special at this level particularly, and we have got to keep him quiet. I know you can say that about a lot of their players, but we've got to keep him quiet because he's got pace, he's got skill, and he can change a game in a heartbeat. So it's not going to be easy for us.
I'd be tempted to try and stop him getting the ball rather than trying to get it off him when he's got it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's a really fair shout, is that, Neil? But when you've got such skill all over the pitch, that's not easy either, is it?
No. Kieran Lee, I'd love to see Kieran Lee start this game again. At home, I think it's what we need. We need to come out, the traps flying, but we need to be solid. And I think Kieran Lee offers that. He adds to our team, I think.
You've listened to our podcast before, haven't you?
I did my homework before I came on,
We're almost, I think, next season we're just going to rename ourselves the KieranLeeFans.com podcast. Yeah. Because have we actually said anything bad about him whatsoever?
We haven't
even pointed to the fact his haircut's a bit rubbish.
I don't think you can criticise him. I think there was obviously the mystery of him disappearing for so long before he made his way into the side. And then, he's come in and you talk to fans from his previous clubs and he's doing exactly what they say, what they loved him for. He was their player of the year and he was consistent for 2 years doing what he's doing at Hillsborough. And that sounds good to me. I think we've seen it at Hillsborough. So I think if we get him in the side, he'd be one of the first players on the team sheet for me.
Yeah. Like Eddie says, he'll not get any argument from any of us. He is such a wonderful player to watch. And he's got to be full of confidence after the display put in against Leicester. Yeah. Arguably man at match for me in that game. I don't... They are a very similar side to Leicester. So I don't see why we need to set up any differently. If we're going to try and contain them, we want those five across the middle. They are strong. I'm on about our players now. We are strong. We are quick. We've got that pace to get on the side, so we can make sure that they don't have it all their own road. I think they've got. I mean, we've come on leaps and bounds since we played Cardiff. We were on a poor run at that time, weren't we? Even though we put in a good performance, so they may not be expecting us to be as good as we are. So that might be to our advantage as well.
It's actually encouraging, isn't it, that we met Cardiff when we were at quite a low ebb, and we gave a good account of ourselves. And to be honest, I think that's as much about the kind of players that we've got and the style that we've got. So I think a resurgent Wednesday, a Wednesday with their tails up, I think we can be a match for this Cardiff team. And the difference maker might well be the kind of how quickly we get out the gates and what sort of atmosphere we generate. Because as much as those Cardiff players are, there's quality all the way through them. They're imagining playing in the Premier League, etc. They're not going to come to too many places and play in front of too many bigger crowds than coming to Hillsborough. So let's make it an intimidating atmosphere and put them under from minute one.
I think this game could be Dave Jones' most predictable starting 11 because I think he'll go with the same as Leicester. I hope he does.
Do we think that all things being equal, Dave Jones wants to play Leroy Lita ahead of Connor Wickham if we're going to go one up top?
I think he probably would start with Leroy Lita again, and I don't have a problem with that. Leroy, he did very, very little wrong in that hour that he was playing. It's silly really because all the plaudits are going to Connor Wickham for the half an hour. Well, pretty much for that one touch that he had.
Yeah.
But Leroy didn't do a lot wrong. He got himself into some good positions. He was just a little bit unlucky. He put a header over the bar. When it looked easier to score, and he took that touch. On another day, he would have buried them. So I would still start with Leroy Lita because one thing Leroy does, he creates space for himself. And I like that about him. So if he keeps creating the chances, eventually we'll put him in. And as we've seen recently, he does like scoring in front of Cop. So hopefully he can continue that on Saturday.
Are we seeing what we expected from Leroy Lita when he come, or is he exceeding expectations, do you think?
I think he's pretty much doing what it said on the tin, and I'd certainly start with him on against Cardiff.
I think, Neil, you said before, didn't you, about how Wednesday fans have maybe been soured on the whole idea of players on loan after the Jay Bothroyd thing, because the expectations were so high and he didn't quite deliver. I think maybe when we signed Leiter, I think there was, on the message boards, and I'm sure you'll bear me out with this, there was a little bit of that feeling that, oh, bloody hell, is it another has-been? We signed another player at the wrong end of his career. But you know what? He's put in a shift, and he's done exactly what we needed. And if he doesn't score another goal, then he's contributed to this season. And so, personally, I believe that he's going to go on and he'll bag another few before this season's out.
I think with Leroy Leiter, what strikes me is I don't think we're ever going to see him play on the pitch with no confidence. He just seems absolutely full of, just 100% confidence. Look at when he took his shirt off in front of Cop. When he scored, he's like, you could just see his attitude and his confidence. We've been crying out for a striker like that for years. That's got that kind of, justified attitude, I would say.
Yeah, you could also see his glistening pectorals, his abs. You could break rocks on that body. Oh, he's beautiful. He's a beautiful man.
Fruit bag down.
Just one little word of advice to Mr. Leiter: don't drop your fruit bag while Eddie's about. So then, chaps, it's that time. Let's have a prediction. Beastie, let's start. In fact, no, we'll leave you all last, Beastie, because you always get the best scores. Eddie, let's start with you.
Yeah, what were you going to go for, Beast?
I was going to go for 2-1.
Right, I'm going 2-1. I think Wednesday are going to come out of the trap strong. I think we're going to go 2-0 up. I think Cardiff will get back into it second half. But I think the fruit bags will be resolutely dropped by the time the 20th minute has come and gone.
Neil, let's have yours on this, old boy.
I'll go the other way. I think it's going to be a tight affair. I think 1-0 to us. And this is more a hope and a wish than a prediction. But Reader Johnson, come on. Come on.
Reader. Yeah, that's what we want to hear.
Do you have to do the accent as well then, Beastie?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I know we're only on a podcast, but I'm doing the hands as well.
You went all Bob Marley on us then.
Neil, it's just one of my many gifts.
Must have some special fruit in his bag this evening. I too think it's going to be a tight affair, but I think towards the end, I think we're going to stick to it at the end. So I'm going to 2-0 Wednesdays. Beastie, what you
right, so what's left for me then? Right. Well, I tricked Eddie. I didn't really think it was going to be 2-1. I think it's going to be 3-2. I think we're going to go 3-0 up. They're going to score 2 back. It's going to be tense in the last 5 minutes. I'll be looking down at my shoes again. But definitely Raider and JJ will score. And that song is going to lift us past the final whistle. Oh, yeah, I think there'll be 8 minutes of injury time as well.
Just with me being a guest around these here podcast parts, I'm not sure if this is how it works, but I take it you always go for a Wednesday win when you're predicting, guys.
Well, no, I like to be unbiased and fair, Neil.
Yeah. Always go for a Wednesday win.
I can't think off the top of my head a time that we haven't predicted a Wednesday win, let's be honest.
I think somebody once predicted a draw, but then they never came back on the podcast again.
We're not having any of that.
So then, chaps, that puts our expert analysis of Cardiff to bed as well. We're running quite long, chaps, so we'll whiz through the last little bit here. We've got a little bit of Wednesday news. Mr. Jabinson, as our erstwhile third keeper, has popped off to York with Mr. Worthington there. Again, I think that's going to be a decent move, chaps. I assume you boys think the same?
It can only help, just like Richie O'Donnell heading out on loan at a lower level. It's pretty much standard, par for the course for this season. Players who aren't getting a game at Hillsborough, let's develop them. Let's get them some first team experience. It's the perfect solution. So good luck. We'll be keeping an eye out. And
sending them off to Nigel Worthington, who should clearly one day be the Wednesday manager.
Right, that's it. Get your taser, Beastie.
Guns out. Come on.
Also, I'm sure you chaps will like to join in with the congratulations for Mr. McCabe. who have once again. What's that chap's name? From Mr. McCabe, who once again has been selected for the under-21 Scotland squad. So jolly well done, old boy. And let's face it, chaps, he's on the up. I should imagine we'll be seeing him in the first team quite soon as well. Can we expect a full cap for him at some point?
Hang on, I've been looking at some forums from our illustrious neighbours across the city, and they don't seem to be too happy with McCabe. So I don't really know what we're talking about.
Not that one, Eddie.
Oh, got it wrong again. Shoes off in car park. Come on.
I tell you what, you seen that Reece McCabe video of him singing Justin Bieber, haven't you, in the bath?
How wonderful is that?
Fantastic. He's going to be a bit gutted, though. Bieber's not coming back, is he? Said he don't like the UK, he's not going to return, so...
Just because of that, he saw that video. So
yeah.
He's like, I'm not having that. I know it's swear.
Yeah, someone's singing better than me in the bath.
We did tweet out earlier on today if anybody did have any questions for us. We did have one from Craig that we answered earlier. Finally, chaps, just a one-word answer. If you have, we had a question from Matt Naylor over there on Facebook as well. Nigel Jemson, was he criminally underrated? One-word answer. Beastie.
Yes.
Neil?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, sorry, yes. Damn, not good at these one-word answers.
Yeah.
Right, start again. Ask me again.
I can't believe you don't stop talking.
Yes. Yes.
Still 2 words.
Okay then. Yes.
Eddie.
I'd like to talk about the breakup of WWF Tag Team The Rockers because in our podcast last week, I may have erroneously alleged that Brutus the Barber Beefcake kicked Marty Jannetty through the window of his barber's shop. I was inundated with complaints on Twitter and Facebook and actually through private message on Owl's Talk this week from listeners who quite correctly pointed out that, in fact, Brutus the Barber Beefcake was only the host of his barber's shop segment, and it was actually the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, who kicked Marty Jannetty through the window of the barber's shop, thus breaking up the tag team The Rockers and starting a feud which culminated in the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels winning the Intercontinental Championship.
To be fair,
I'd like to apologise on behalf not only of myself but of the entire podcast, because quite clearly I've demonstrated that I have no knowledge of late 80s / early 90s professional wrestling, and I brought shame on the good name of the Wednesday week, and for that I apologise.
The saddest thing about all that is I tweet a question out, we get 2 questions for the podcast. You say something wrong about wrestling from 20 years ago, and you're inundated with complaints.
We're doing the wrong podcast. I'm telling you, there is a demand in the Sheffield Wednesday footballing fraternity for nostalgic looks back at a time when both wrestling and Sheffield Wednesday were great.
Oh, those were the days.
And if anybody makes a reference to me being like the Nature Boy, then they can all shut off. I look nothing like Ric Flair.
You know what? I can actually imagine you taking your position in the Cop to that entrance music and wearing a huge rhinestone-studded dressing gown. That would be brilliant.
Do it, Beastie.
Eddie's been peering through Beastie's windows again.
I've just put Ric Flair on now on YouTube.
There you go.
What a good-looking man.
Did he just?
Oh, dear. So then, chaps, I think that just about wraps up the podcast for this week. Eddie, if people want to get all of you over there on Facebook and Twitter, where can we find you, old boy?
Yeah, well, I mean, unless you're going to berate me again about wrestling knowledge, then you're more than welcome to contact me. I am at Sausage Arms on Twitter, and I was actually accosted again this week by what I believe, lads, is our first fangirl of the show. Is a lovely lady who goes by the moniker of Aisha, etc. But she said that she was sat in bed and she has to laugh silently so she doesn't wake her other half up while listening to the podcast. Now, I replied to her that at last, after 23 years on the planet, that finally I can say that I've made a woman happy in bed. So, I thought, well, thank you, Aisha. That's fantastic.
When you're making a lap in bed, that's not the same sort of pleasure, really, is it?
It's different, but you take what you can get at the moment, Beast, to be honest.
Well, I do.
No, yes, at Sausage Arms, have a go at me for wrestling knowledge, or if you're an attractive female, then by all means come and tell me that I'm your third favourite out of the four of us. That's great. That'll do me.
Beastie, old boy. Other than hashtag woo, where can people find it?
Hashtag slap my Robin, I think was this one.
I like that hashtag. Woo! Woo! I like that, actually. You could also get me at hashtag I really do like netball and PT skirts. Laura Jones has just pulled me up about slating netball last week. It's not been a real sport, which it isn't, obviously. But yeah, you can find me at owlsalive.com, or you can get me on Twitter at Beastie_. Failing that.
Fantastic, old boy. And of course, Neil, thank you ever so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Very welcome.
And if people want to find out of you, I'm sure plenty of people do, but where can we get hold of you over there on the Tinterwebs, old boy?
I'm always on Owls Talks. That's www.owlstalk.co.uk. But what I'd like to do is just ask everyone to have a look at the official YouTube channel that's going on. So it's like the official Sheffield Wednesday YouTube channel. And have a watch of these fan cam things. These videos, like I said, they're 30 minutes long and they cover match days, but it's kind of an evolving thing. So we just started it up with a camera and no presenter, and we've ended up with like a 30-minute show for each match. But we need feedback, so what works, what doesn't, what would you like to see, and we'll do it.
You know what? It is brilliant. It's something I've never seen another club do this kind of. It's not so much behind the scenes things, but it's actually it's for those that aren't lucky enough to get to go to matches on a regular basis. It really does kind of get that build up to to the match, etc., and getting the views of the ordinary Wednesday fan. It's brilliant. It reminds me of the really good bits in the season review videos that we used to get back in the day, where they'd go behind the scenes and just randomly talk to a few fans for a couple of minutes. It's just like that. It's brilliant.
Cheers. Yeah. We kind of sparked off from that idea, to be honest. Last season's review DVD. Obviously, it was a promotion. Yeah, well, he had a promotion season, and there were nothing like we've seen in previous years, and it was just a case. You know what? We've done the match day pictures of the crowd for like 3 years now, but other clubs are copying that. What can we do that's new? And it all kind of tied in together. Let's just get a video camera. Let's go around and talk to fans, and also show a little bit behind the scenes, like ticket office and stuff that doesn't sound glamorous, but it's the things that make the club tick on a match day. We just want to show a bit of that as well. So, but what we're looking for really is ideas of what else people would like to see. So have a look at them and give us your feedback.
You know I'm on board with them, Neil, especially when I'm on them.
Every week.
But it's all credit to you for this. It is a fantastic idea, and the fact that it's done so informally and it involves the fans so easily and readily, it's just absolutely fantastic. Because normally when a club gets hold of something like this, they tend to suck the life out of it, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
They tend to make it like watching a BBC documentary or something like that. But this is proper fan stuff. It's bike fans, FOP fans, and it's absolutely top stuff. Well done.
Thanks, pal. I think that's all credit to the club letting us do it as well. Remember, so they hadn't took the idea and nicked it and gone off in suits. No. Do you know what I mean? They've let us do it.
Yeah, they keep trying to get on here as well. So then, of course, you can get hold of the podcast over there on Twitter at TWWcast. You can also find us on Facebook, of course, at the website www.thewednesdayweek.com, and everywhere else in the normal places as well. So, chaps, can we have a big woo for the Wednesdays on Saturday? I'm not even going to say what that sounded like. And it's a very good evening from us. Thank you ever so much for joining us once again, and we shall see you very soon.